Can't stop for a red light.
Red light, red light.
Still above Bo Kanye, can't wait till my bread ride.
Can't wait till my
Bad
bread
boy sucking
right,
out five. The head right, Molly there at night. Young king from the field and I stay fly. Pull up, only question with the bed light. Kill pussy, it ain't got nine lives. Hard tumble like a Nissan. Then brain that's 10 man. Hit a clone with the B-side. Room with the kickstand.
YouTube, what's happening? It's your guy Hitch. Hope everybody's enjoying their long July 4th weekend. This is it. This is what happens when the React Element 87 and the Air Max 270 has a baby. This is the Bodas colorway, I think I'm pronouncing that right, of the Nike Air Max 270 React. And is that a good thing that they put both technologies together? I'm gonna say aesthetically, hell yeah. This sneaker looks better than the Air Max 270 to me, and looks just as good, if not a little bit better, than the Nike React Element 87. So the upper of the shoe is made out of a variety of different materials, but to start is the base material. That base material that you're looking at right here on the toe box that runs throughout the upper is like a fabric material, and I do like it. Like when you compare it to the Element 87, it doesn't wrinkle as much, and it looks just as good as the mesh on the 270s. And then the layers on top of that, starting at like your toe box, going through the lateral and the medial side of the sneaker, as well as both swooshes, are going to be felt. I personally don't like felt. Felt is typically a dirt and dust magnet. In the toe box area, you can see like a lot of Air Max 93 design there, but if you were to continue up the shoe by your lace loops, that is identical to the Element 87s. That is also going to have your felt-like material, but down at the bottom where the first lace loop is, you have an island of synthetic leather there, and then up at the top by the end of the last lace loops, you have islands of synthetic leather there as well. You have your black lace loops going all around, and then when you look at your tongue actually has the same fabric material as you have in your toe area. The only thing is it's a little bit more padded now, and then you have a patch of felt on top of that again. You have a lace loop on the tongue to help keep the tongue in place, which if you don't lace your shoes and tie them like I do, then this definitely helps keeping it in place. And then at the top, you're gonna have a combination of your Air Max 270 logo along with the React logo, and then lastly of course is your swoosh all the way at the top. What I do like about this tongue is that it's padded. So compared to your Air Max 270, which was pretty much a booty fit, and then compared to the Element 87, which is super flimsy, you're not gonna have either of that here. It's fully detached, it's not as flimsy, and it's not hard to put on. When you look at your collar, same thing. They improved the collar compared to the 87. It's not pushing on your Achilles as much. It's more padded than you had in the Element 87. And then again, compared to the 270, with that detached tongue, it makes for an easier time putting the shoe on. When you then get into the inside of the sneaker, you're gonna have mismatched insoles along with your Nike logo down at the bottom. Even with the improvements that they did make in the collar and the detached tongue, the heel is pretty much the same design as you had in your Element 87, which is again not bad, but it also does have that same felt material on the back, which I'm not a big fan of. But what I do love is that air bubble. The Air Max 270 air bubble was one of my favorites. And speaking of that air unit, that's where all the party happens on this shoe. The first half of the sneaker is going to be fully React. The back half of the sneaker is going to be your Air Max 270 air unit. But sitting on top of that, which is a little bit interesting, is that you do have React above it. Now, the shoe is comfortable. I'm not going to kid you there. It's a comfortable shoe to wear, but it has a weird comfort to it. And what I mean by that is the first half of your foot, where your toes are, you have a more soft and slightly responsive cushioning, and then as you're walking, you then have a more firm and stiff ride on the back where your air unit is. So when you're walking, if you're really starting to pay attention to what your foot is doing in the shoe, it just has a very weird transition where you're going from a soft, plush, slightly reactive cushioning in the front to not much going on in the back in regard to the impact that you're getting in the heel. Even though it has that React cushioning above the air unit, it doesn't really soften up the ride at all. And that same mashup is what you're gonna have in your outsole. So when you look at the outsole, top part is gonna look just like your Element 87, and then the bottom half is going to look exactly like your Air Max 270. What I do like about this outsole when you compare it to the other two shoes are that the black areas of the outsole, they're way more rubberized than what you would have in the previous two shoes, and that to me is going to add a lot more durability into the sneaker. The retail on these are 150 bucks, just like the Air Max 270s, which means it's $10 cheaper than the Element 87s, and they're readily available everywhere. So you name it, Nike, Foot Locker, Champs, Finish Line, it doesn't matter, they're there. If you don't feel like you have to buy them now, you can wait. More than likely they will hit some kind of sale, or if you have a reward at a Finish Line, Foot Locker, whatever retailer, you can use them on these as well. Now, I'm looking forward to the colorways. This fabric material on the toe and on the medial and lateral sides, I've seen colorways that have them at see-through, so that means I can show off my sock game. But as of now, in regard to the colorways that are available, there are probably about 5 for women's, and most of them are dope. There are only about 3 for men's, and they're Hopefully they are gonna bless the men with some dope colorways. If not, I will be buying some women's sneakers. On a scale of 1 to 5, I'm gonna give the Air Max 270 a solid 4. When you take the overall package of the shoe, I just like it better from the parent standpoint than the Element 87 and the Air Max 270, even with the BS felt. Not only that, but the shoe itself really just fits better. It holds my foot in the shoe better. When you compare it to the Element 87, because of this translucent upper, if you have a narrow foot, the shoe can wrinkle a lot and look weird on your feet. Not only that, but if you have a wide foot like me, sometimes the shoe becomes a little bit unstable. That could be because I don't tie my sneakers, but not only that, but having a wide foot, your foot sometimes can protrude through the upper. But then when you compare it to the Air Max 270, even though this holds your foot very well, it's still snug, it's very narrow, so the sneaker can be very hard to put on at times, and then they can look weird, like when you're wearing jeans, they can look extremely long on feet, and I don't like that. With the Air Max 270 Reacts, they're just solid, so you're not gonna have any of those issues like you have in Element 87s or in the Air Max 270s. And then from a sizing standpoint, you can go true to size. I went true to size with the ones I have, and I have no complaints. The only thing that I can think of as a downside when comparing it to the other two shoes would be that confusing comfortable shoe, but just a confusing ride when wearing them. If you haven't done so already, go follow my Twitter, go follow my Instagram. I typically preview sneakers before I get a chance to upload them onto YouTube, so you have a chance of seeing what I'm working on before it hits my YouTube page. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the bell and subscribe to my channel.
Your team full of has-been, no hope like a Knicks fan. Snowy and I ain't just mad cause I been him.
that nigga.
Young king from the east side, feel good on the west end. Don't run up on my G-Ride, when my dudes lose go. Best friend. Great later, fuck less than. Count money in blessings. Niggas know I'm the best man, no question. Blow down to the socks, I'm a question.